Welcome to the Bible Conversations podcast. Our focus for conversation starters this year is going to be practical tips on how to begin a conversation with someone about the Bible and about Jesus. We hope that you will find some helpful information in these short segments that will enable you to share your faith with others. On today's conversation starter, we're going to be talking about how we can talk to somebody who believes in the Buddhist faith or who is of the Buddhist faith. You know, we may not come across individuals who follow Buddhism very often, yet they're out there. And in a lot of places, they are the predominant culture, the predominant religion, and so for us to understand then how to talk with somebody who follows this belief system, who understands the world maybe differently than we do, and eventually to convince them of the need for Jesus Christ. Because even though they may have their beliefs and they may believe that they are okay, as Christians we understand that there is only one way to heaven. And really there's only two options in this life. And so somebody's soul must be accounted for. And if we have an opportunity to teach them about Jesus, then we have to take that. And so where is the common ground between Buddhists and Christians? Well, the Buddhism, I guess the religion of Buddhism, they have three universal truths. One is that everything in life is impermanent and always changing. And because nothing is permanent, this is the second one, a life based on possessing things or persons doesn't make you happy. And three, there is no eternal, unchanging soul, and self is just a collection of changing characteristics or attributes. Now, I kind of understand the first one. I don't necessarily agree that life is always impermanent and always changing. I think there are some things in life that stay the same. But regardless, I understand the sentiment. The second one I fully agree with. A life based on possessing things or persons doesn't make you happy. I think as Christians we understand that. Matthew, Sermon on the Mount, I think it's Matthew 6, right? But do not lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth or rust destroy, right? It's exactly what that's talking about. And then the third one, I don't necessarily agree that there is, in fact, it's not that I don't necessarily, I disagree that there is no eternal, unchanging soul. We certainly do have a soul. And then the four noble truths. They have human life has a lot of suffering. That I agree with. The cause of suffering is greed. I think a cause of suffering is greed. There is an end to suffering. I also agree with that. The way to end suffering is to follow the middle path. I disagree with that. And so we can see that there are already some agreements that we have. But what I want to really focus in on for just a minute or so is what they have what's called the Eightfold Path. So one is a right understanding and viewpoint, which is based on the Four Noble Truths. So they have to understand those, and they have to follow those, right? The second thing is right values and attitude. In other words, compassion over selfishness, and I fully agree with that. Right speech, so don't tell lies. Don't be harsh in your speech. Don't be abusive in your speech. Don't gossip. I fully agree with that. Right action, help others. Live honestly. Don't harm living things. Take care of the environment. I agree with that. Right work. Do something useful. Avoid jobs which harm others. I agree with that. Right effort. Encourage good, helpful thoughts and discourage unwholesome, destructive thoughts. I certainly agree with that. Right mindfulness. Be aware of what you feel, think, and do. I mean, we have a song about that, right? Be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear. Careful, little hands, what you do. And careful, little feet, where you go. I certainly agree with that, right? Meditation. Calm mind, practice meditation, which leads to nirvana. I think there can be something said about fasting and certainly about prayer. I don't think there's anything wrong with meditation. I also don't believe that nirvana is necessarily something that we can attain, enlightenment, so to speak. So as we think about how we can talk with somebody who shares in this Buddhist faith, there are certainly things that we agree with. The way that we live our life, the idea that there is a lot of suffering in life, and we can reduce that suffering by being not overly greedy, not trying to live in poverty, right? But by following what they call the middle path, right? I don't believe that ends suffering. I believe that's a way to reduce suffering. But But then we do believe there's a way to end suffering, and that is Jesus Christ. And so there's certainly a lot of things that we can find common ground on. There's also a lot of things that we will disagree with, or at least have differing opinions on how we get to that answer. So I want to encourage you, if you know somebody who is Buddhist, go talk with them and ask them about their faith, ask them about their beliefs, and have an open dialogue. I am sure they'd be more than happy and willing to share with you their beliefs. So I hope this has helped you. It's been a little bit longer today, but I appreciate you listening, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you for listening to this conversation starter. We appreciate your desire to share your faith with others, and we hope that this episode has been of benefit to you. If you would like to reach us, please email us at kcocbibleconversations@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram by simply searching Bible Conversations. Please check back in on Fridays for our full episode.